Hello everyone. In this lecture I am going to discuss chapter number 3, that is requirements analysis, and I will discuss the first topic, that is the requirement elicitation. Let us start with the first topic, that is the requirement analysis. Requirements analysis basically focuses on the tasks that determine the needs, or we can say the conditions to meet the new or altered product or project, taking account of the possibly conflicting requirements of the various stakeholders, analyzing, documenting, validating, and managing software or the system requirements. The requirements analysis is critical to the success or the failure of a system or the software project. The requirements should be documented, actionable, then we can say testable, traceable, measurable, related to identified business needs or the opportunities, and also defined to a level of detail sufficient for the system design. Requirements analysis results in the specification of software's operational characteristics. It indicates the software's interface with the other systems element and establishes constraints that software must meet. Requirements analysis is the process of defining the expectations of the users for an application that is to be built or modified. So we can say the IEEE definition of the requirement analysis is the process of studying a user needs to arrive at a definition of a system, hardware or software requirements. The process of defining the expectations of the users for an application that is to be built or modified. Now, let us move to the types of requirements. Before that, we'll discuss first the concept of the requirement. Designing and building computer software is a challenging job. The software requirements are description of features and functionalities of the target system. Requirement is a condition possessed by the software or the system component in order to solve real world problems. The problems can be automated, part of a system. To correct the shortcomings of an existing system, to control a device, and so on. So, as we have already discussed the IEEE definition of the requirement as a condition or a capability needed by a user to solve a problem or achieve an objective goal. So that is the basically the definition of the requirement. A condition or a capability that must be met or possessed by a system or the software component to satisfy a contract standard specification or other formally imposed documents. The requirements are classified into three categories. First one is the functional requirement, second one that is the non-functional requirement, and the last one that is the domain. So the functional requirement, basically IEEE defines the functional requirement as a function that a system or the component must be able to perform. These requirements describe the interaction of software with its environment and specify the inputs, outputs, external interfaces, and various functions that should be included in the software. Then the functional requirements for a system describe what the system should do. These requirements depend on the type of software being developed, the expected users of the software, and the general approach taken by the organization when writing requirements. When expressed as a user requirements, functional requirements are usually described in an abstract way that can be understood by the system users. However, more specific functional system requirements describe the system functions, its inputs and outputs. Then we can say the exceptions, etc. in detail. Then the second one, that is the non-functional requirements. The non-functional requirements, also known as quality requirements, related to system attributes such as reliability and response time. The non-functional requirements arise due to user requirements, budget constraints, organizational policies, etc. And these requirements are not related directly to any particular function provided by the system. Hence, we can say the non-functional requirements, as the name suggests, are requirements that are not directly concerned with the specific services delivered by the system to its users. They may relate to emergent system properties such as we can say the reliability, response time, and store occupancy. Alternatively, they may define constraint on the system implementation such as the capabilities of input-output devices or the data representation used in interfaces with the other systems. The non-functional requirements such as the performance, then availability, usability, then security specify or constraint characteristics of the system as a whole. Then the last requirement, that is the domain requirements. In a software engineering, the requirements that are derived from the application domain of a system instead from the needs of users are known as domain requirements. Domain requirements may be new functional requirements or specify a method to perform some particular computations. The software requirements are also classified as user requirements, system requirements, and software specification requirements. So, the user requirements are the collection of systems collection of different statements in natural language plus description of the services the system provides and its operational constraints it is written for customers. The system requirements are the structured documents that give the detailed description of the system services. It is written as a contract between client and contractor. Then the software specification requirements are the detailed software description that can serve as a basis for design or implementation. Typically, it is written for software developers. So, all these are the different types of requirements that we have discussed. As we have already discussed, the requirement analysis is the process of establishing the services that the customer requires from the system and the constraints under which it is to be developed and operated. Systems analysis is a process of understanding in detail what a system should accomplish. So, all these are the main types of requirements that we have already discussed: functional requirement, non-functional requirement, domain requirement. Then the various tasks performed using the requirements analyses are like to detect and resolve conflicts that arise due to unclear and unspecified requirements. Then the second task performed using requirement analysis is to determine operational characteristics of the software and how they interact with the environment. Then the third one, that is to understand the problem for which the software is to be developed. And also it's very important task performed using the requirement analysis is to develop an analysis model to analyze the requirements in the software. Now it's important to know what is the objective of requirement analysis. The requirements analysis is conducted iteratively with functional analysis to optimize performance requirements for identified functions and to verify that synthesized solutions can satisfy customer requirements. Requirement analysis is a software engineering task that bridges the gap between the system level software allocation and software design. So it's a very important objective of requirement analysis. Then also we have to know the need of requirement analysis. Requirement analysis is needed, or it's important because that describe the need of requirement analysis. Like the requirements analysis helps in defining system objectives or goals. Then the second one, that is the requirements analysis, helps to identify the system boundaries. Then it also helps to understand the system's importance. Then with the help of requirement analysis, we can decide the nature of the system. Also it helps to maintain the interface of existing system with the other systems. And also we can say the requirements analysis helps to motivate the user to the new environment. Also the requirement analysis helps to understand the resource needs such as the hardware and the software. And the very important point, that is the requirement analysis helps to understand the feasibility of the new system. Hence it's all about the objectives of requirement analysis. Let's have a look at the various activities that are present in the requirement analysis. So the first one, that is the requirement elicitation. The elicitation activity consists of gathering information, understanding the stakeholders' need, and articulating high level requirements. Then the second main activity, that is the requirements analysis. The analysis activity examines the high level requirements and determines if they are clear, complete, and free of contradictions, and then defines the strategy to address these issues. Then the third one, that is the requirement specification. The specification activity defines the behavior of a system in development and determines the method for requirements documentation. And the last one, that is the requirements validation. The validation activity involves sessions with users, stakeholders, and the functional experts to determine mitigation and issue resolution plans for conflicting requirements before projects move into the development phase. So all these are the different activities in the requirement analysis. Now let us move to the next topic, that is the requirement elicitation. The requirements elicitation process may appear simple, means ask the customer, the users, and others what the objectives for the system or product are, what is to be accomplished, how the system or the product fits into the needs of the business, and finally how the system or the product is to be used on a day-to-day basis. However, issues may arise that complicate the process. So, the requirement elicitation means in this requirement engineering, requirements elicitation is the practice of researching and discovering the requirements of the system from the user, customers, and the other stakeholders. Eliciting requirements is difficult because of first important thing, that is the problems of scope. In identifying the boundaries of the system or specifying unnecessary technical details rather than overall system objectives. Also, the second one, that is the in problems of the understandings, what is needed, what the problem domain is, and what the computing environment can handle. So all these are the different problems may occur in understanding. Then the third one, that is the problems of volatility. Due to the requirements change over the time, there may be the problem of volatility you may face. So all these are the different difficulties that may occur in the requirement elicitation. Hence, we can say the eliciting requirements is difficult because of the problem of scope. Then there may be the possibility in the problems of understanding and the problems of volatility. So all these are the different types of difficulties may occur during the requirements elicitation. Now let's have a look at the questions for requirement elicitation used to elicit information about users' requirements. So the questions, before moving to the questions, I just discuss the elicitation is about seeking information about the software, the system, and the business. Eliciting requirements is the task of communicating with customers and users to determine what their requirements are. So we can say sometimes the information can be sought from the customers and the users in the following ways, like we can say the how is the software to be used on a day-to-day basis, what is the accomplishment by the software, then we can say what are the objectives or the goals of software product, then how does the software fit into the needs of business. So all these are the different types of information can be sought from the customers and the users. So let us see the questions for the requirement elicitation. So the first question, that is who. To know about the organizational unit, type of job, or a client to which the requirements relates. So this is the required thing, means we have to find out who is involved in that project activity. Then the second thing is what. The second question, that is what. It means to know about tasks that need to be performed, that is the functional requirements, means what are the various tasks that are we are going to involve in our project, that is the what question. Then the third question arises, that is where. So to know about type of machines, that for example we can say the server, client, etc., on which the processing is required to be done. So we have to find out that. Then the fourth thing, that is when. One can know several aspects of requirements through this question. I'm just giving few examples like the order. What is the sequence in which different tasks must be initiated and completed? So we are going to find when that order we are going to deliver or complete or initiated. Then the second thing we can say the performance. After how much time must the task be completed after its initiation? So that's again one question that arises regarding the performance. Then the third one, that is what, for example, we can say the period. What is the time period of transaction data time to which the processing logic should be applied? So all these are the different things we have to find when these things are going to be happen. Okay, and the fifth one, that is the question, that is the why. To know the rational behind the requirements of why the software is needed. So we must know why it is needed. Then the last one, the last question that arises is how. To know how the tasks are initiated and performed and how the result is developing. Asking how determines the methods used to deliver the functionality. It is concerned with the understanding data entry, data processing, and the mechanism for dissemination of the information. So all these are the different types of questions for the requirement elicitation used to elicit information about users' requirements. Now let us see what are the different steps in eliciting requirements. So the first step, that is a very important, requirements gathering. The developers discuss with the client, or we can say the end users or the customer, and know their expectations from the software. Means what are the different functional requirements that customer wants. So that should be taken by developer. Then the second thing is the organizing requirements. The developers prioritize and arrange the requirements in order of importance, urgency, and the convenience. So this sequence should be decided by the developer. Then the third one, that is negotiation and discussion. If the requirements are ambiguous or redundant, or there are some conflicts in requirements of various stakeholders, if they are, it is then negotiated and discussed with the stakeholders. The requirements may then be prioritized and reasonably compromised. The requirements come from various stakeholders. To remove the ambiguity and conflicts, they are discussed for clarity and correctness. Hence, we can say the unrealistic requirements are compromised reasonably. So, this is a very crucial and the important step that happen in the eliciting requirement. Then the fourth one, that is the documentation. So all formal and informal, functional and non-functional requirements are documented and made available for the next phase processing. So this documentation is the last step carried out in the eliciting requirements. Now let us move to the very important topic, that is the requirement elicitation technique. Requirements elicitation is the process to find out the requirements for an intended software system by communicating with clients, end users, system users, and others who have a stake in the software system development. There are various ways to discover requirements. Some of them are given, like first one is the interviews, second one is surveys, third one is questionnaires, and fourth one is observation. Thank you.